Hey guys, it's Troy here, and yes, I'm back. And yes, I took some time off. I did that on purpose. Spent some time with family, the holidays, work stuff, just having a hard time either A, finding the time to sit here and talk about stuff, B, finding the motivation sometimes, to be honest with you. Just got so much that's been going on and so much that's been taking up an awful lot of my time, a lot of my thoughts, and a lot of my priorities, quite honestly. So anyway, here I am, and I figured I'd at least put out a video, and we'll see how things go. You know, I've got some stuff that I've picked up. I have slowed down my procurement process. It's not that I've lost a passion for pens. Actually, I still love them, and I still pick them up, and I still use them, and I still from time to time purchase them. However, I'm not, I guess the word gung-ho, maybe? I don't know. At least when in terms of doing this particular channel and putting it out for public, because a lot of my passion has been just behind the scenes doing stuff that I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it, and just changing a few things about my priorities in life. So anyway, that doesn't mean that I'm abandoning this or the hobby or anything. So just figured I'd at least bring to you an update on how things have been and how things have been going, the stuff that I've gotten, and what I've been doing a lot with my time. Share a few things that I've picked up along the way. So let's go ahead and start with, well, let's see. How about a Christmas gift? Why not? One of the things that I got for Christmas is this. It's a calligraphy set, and you know, it's not an expensive one. I've actually seen these being sold on Etsy for $10. I'm assuming that you can pick these up on Wish. I don't know where my I think my bride got these for me, so I'm not really sure, and I have no idea how much they're going other than what I've seen on Etsy, because quite honestly, looking for stuff on Etsy, run across this very set. I was like, ah, cool, look at that. Someone else is selling it for 15. So but I know they're at least $10. And these are the two pens that came with it. You can see there's two empty slots over here on this side. So I've been using these and playing with them because I've inked up two of them. I kind of like a 1.1 stub nib, and I've been using some of those a lot here lately. Really like how my handwriting has been with a 1.1 stub. So I decided, let's go ahead and ink up some of these. I've never used a 1.5, so I think the blue one I put the 1.5 nib in, and because it originally had like the 2.9. It has nibs in here from 0.7 all the way up to 2.9 for calligraphy use. 0.7 I'm kind of familiar with, 1.1, but I've never used the 1.5. So I've got the 1.5 in one, and I left the 2.5 in the other. And they have cartridges in different colors. It does, and I played with it. I didn't use any of the cartridges that came with it. I actually used a standard international cartridge in blue inside the blue, and I whipped out a standard international converter and I put it into the clear one. So I've been playing with those here just recently. So that was my only pen related Christmas gift that I gotten, but I've got some other stuff that's come in, and I'll show you some of what I've done more with my time as well. Here's a pen that I've seen for several years, and I thought about getting it, but I was just, I didn't really make it a priority. But Duke is a Chinese manufacturer that I've debated whether or not to get, and they've got this one here, and this is the Charlie Chaplin model. And for several years, I see these offered for sale from time to time, and I debated whether or not to even bother. But I went ahead and picked one up because I found a good deal on it, and it was new. So let me go ahead and bring this out, and you can see where it's got the Charlie Chaplin shoe right there on that cap band, and it's got right there by Duke. But it is the Charlie Chaplin model, and it was meant to kind of, the shape kind of look like his character. So if you're into Charlie Chaplin from, you know, what, the 1930s or so, and then prior to that, the silent movie era, you know, I thought it was kind of neat. I've got some Chaplin movies on DVD, and I grew up watching some old Charlie Chaplin. Yes, I'm old enough for that. But it's an all-metal pen, and it's got a very short, like I said, very short section here. And it is a cartridge converter pen, so it's decently constructed. Went ahead and a nice tight snap on that. You could hear that. Went ahead and picked that up, and maybe I'll do a video on this particular pen. And it writes okay. It's just a little awkward, I think, though, with that very short section on that. Let's see, what else have I picked up? I picked up this right here. This I got from antiquedigger.com. By the way, 10% off your purchases with discount code Troy. If you go to antiquedigger.com and use my name as your discount code, you'll get 10% off your purchase. But an old Sheaffer flat top. I love Sheaffer flat tops. Sheaffer is one of my top 2 brands for vintage pens, and I particularly enjoy the 1920s into the early 30s era. To me, was the heyday of quality and of good, just plain good stuff, whether it be in a celluloid, like you see here with a black celluloid, or whether it be with like a black chased hard rubber, or red ripple, or blue ripple, olive ripple, rose ripple. I love all the ripples in the hard rubber. Absolutely love them. But that's my favorite time period. That era to me was top quality, excellent nibs. I love how they feel in the hand. I love how they write. And Sheaffer flat tops to me are simple yet elegant, lever filler, and the more I've had these, the more I've played with them and written with them, the more that I like them. One of my other favorite Sheaffer flat tops I also got from Antique Digger is it's a black and pearl model. Didn't much really care at first for that color. I'd seen it around for years and didn't really know if I was really going to be into it. But the more I touched it and the more I used it, it kind of grew on me. So I've picked up some others, actually I picked up some before I bought that one from Antique Digger in a different model. But I really enjoyed the Sheaffer flat top. So if you're looking for something to add to a vintage collection, or to pick up a vintage pen for your collection, and if you're not familiar with vintage pens, I highly recommend an old Sheaffer flat top from the 1920s. This one probably, I just showed you that black one, maybe at the end of the 20s towards 1929, somewhere in there. But excellent pen. I like how it writes. I tend to like rigid nibs. I don't mind flex nibs at all, but I'm not gaga over them. I got a desk pen over here that's got a very rigid nib that to me just writes fantastically well, and so that's what I do recommend. Let's see, a couple other things to show you here. Here's one. Mike Green from up, I believe, in Michigan, if memory serves, is a middle-aged guy who I've gotten a chance to meet online, and he actually has done several interviews and Zoom calls with my friend Larry over at Larry's Fountain Pens. And if you don't subscribe to Larry's channel, please go over and do so. Love Larry to death. We've been friends for years, and we keep in touch on a regular basis. And I was actually on one of the Zoom calls with Mike, and I had reached out to him after having seen some of his work. Right here, an ebonite pen. He's only been doing pens about a year, if that. He kind of picked it up as something he wanted to try to do, is to make fountain pens. And I gotta be honest with you, he's done an excellent job. I saw this on his website. I'll pull up his website right down here. I recommend you go over there. He doesn't have it set up to be able to purchase directly through his site, but you can reach out to him and say, this is the pen that I saw that I'm interested in. And I did that with this very pen here, black ebonite. And it doesn't have a clip on it or anything, but it just seemed like it was a really good pen, good size, little oversized. And I said, that interests me. So Mike responded to me. He gave me all the details about this particular pen, and I was like, great. And then I didn't do anything about it. So my fault, my bad. And then he was having a Black Friday sale, 30% off. Yeah, I probably ought to reach out to Mike again. So I went ahead and ordered it, and Mike tends to use either Bach or your Yovo nibs. No surprise there. So he had a black nib in it. Matter of fact, I may have a picture of it that I can put up and show you, and it looked really good. I thought it complemented the black ebonite very well. And that's what I said, you know, I kind of want that. So, and then he reaches out back to me and he says, hey, that nib is a fine nib. Is that a problem? Yeah. That's going to be a little bit of a problem. Didn't have a problem with it being a Bach nib. So he said, well, I've got these others. I said, look, here's what I want. Just a very boring, smooth, medium nib, and I'm happy. So he put in a silver tone, very boring, medium, smooth nib for me. And I've been very happy with it. It writes well. It holds good in my hand. I think he did a really good job. The craftsmanship was outstanding, and the look of it to me, just all black and shiny. So been very happy. So reach out to Mike Green, and hopefully you can see what he's got out there. He's an up-and-coming maker, and I think you'll be happy with that. Something else I've been doing to spend some of my time here. Let me reach over behind me and get this. An old Rolodex. Had an old Rolodex laying around, you know. So, and what I did do was I decided I was going to do my ink swatches on it. You know, I've been doing an old notebook. Let me show you. I've had that book for years. Let me move my Yoda toy out of the way because he's blocking the way of my notebook. But this is where I've been doing some of my ink samples when I first started getting into pens. And what I would do is I would simply do a writing sample here. Some of my very early videos, you've probably seen this. This is how I kept track of what my colors look like at first. I just happened to have this old blank sketchbook kind of thing, and I used that. And it's about full. With all the different colors and writing samples, and when someone would say, hey Troy, what's a good blue ink, I literally would take this book, open it up, and start looking. But that's one thing that I did up until recently. So dropped that idea and decided I was going to do some ink swatching. So what I had done was I had literally this old Rolodex just laying around here at the house. And it has these old blank cards. So if you're an old fart like me, you probably remember these, and you would either handwrite or type out contact information, so you know, name, address, phone number, company, and all that happy stuff on some of these, and you would keep them on a Rolodex, and it was a very common office product that you would find. So you know, went ahead and decided let's go ahead and use that. So very quickly, I used up all the blank cards that I had. And I found on Etsy where you could order more. So I ordered another 100 of them. And those were shipped to me for like $7. All right, cool. Why not? And I ran out of those. I was like, okay, ordered another 100 to be able to finish up what I was doing. So I've got well over 250 inks or so that I sat here feverishly over the course, I say feverishly, but you know, gradually over the course of about a week or so during my free time, I took every single ink that I have and I swatched it. And I started out by doing ones that I already had in pens. I keep a spreadsheet of all my pens and what they're inked with. And so I used all those first. And because what I would do is I would take, let's say, a black ink. Here's a good one right here. You know, right there. Noodler's Bad Black Moccasin. I use that ink a lot, by the way. I've got no problem with Noodler's inks at all. Never had a problem. Some of them are a pain in the butt to clean, but boy, do they look pretty. But so what I did was a pen that I had inked up with Noodler's Bad Black Moccasin. I wrote on the bottom, and then I swatched it up top with a Q-tip. And so I quickly ran out of everything that I had inked because I only had, what, 12 to 15 pens inked, and then over time I just get another pen and ink it up, and I said, yeah, it's moving kind of slowly. I really need to just buckle down and do them all. So I did what I had, and quite honestly, at first when I ran out of pens that were inked, I started to use this. This is an old dip pen. It's from Warren Manufacturing, and this is from 1895. I had one of these that I found in a local to me, and I live in an area full of antiques. Antique shops were the motif for my downtown in the town I live in. So I picked this up for like $5 at an antique shop one day, and it's a rough writing pen. I mean, it's really scratchy. Didn't really love it. And at the DC Pen Show here just this last year, there was a table set up where they were selling these. And they had a factory that was purchased that used to be the Warren Manufacturing Company, and apparently in the attic they had boxes and boxes and boxes full of these things. So they were selling them for 4 for $20, 5, I think 4 for 20. What the heck, I'll pick up some more. And they supposedly had one of each nib that was available in that bundle. And so I was using those, and it still wrote horribly. I just wasn't real happy. So then I found a pen online. I said, let me get a decent dip pen. I already had a dip pen, and the nibs that came with it were crap. They didn't write. I could never get that dip pen to work properly, and it was just something I picked up off from wish.com and for a couple of bucks. I said, all right, I didn't lose anything really except a couple of bucks. But went ahead and picked this up, and this was a dip pen, and yeah, believe it or not, this down here, that was all ivory, just like this. Here's a picture of what it looked like when I first bought it, and it came with this nice little brass stand. Okay, so I got a nice little stand here, and I've got a dip pen. Didn't write as well as I had hoped. I mean, it wrote okay, not as well as I had hoped. Part of the reason it became stained so bad is because I had several hundred of these little capsules of ink samples, and getting it down in there, it got ink all over it, not to mention all over my fingers, because when I did the Q-tip swab, set it down, because I didn't want to use one Q-tip, and because it's got 2 ends, I didn't want to just be frivolous with those. So what I did was turn it over and use it on the next one, and I got ink all over my hands, so ink all over that dip pen, and of course it was ivory colored. That didn't go over well, so it was really tough to clean. So I did that for a session or two, got tired of that, so I said, let me whip out my old dip pen that I had purchased, that for a couple of dollars on Wish, and those nibs that it came with fit in here nicely, but I could never get them to write, no matter what. It's like, those are crap nibs. So let me see if I got a bunch of behind me here, number 5 and number 6 nibs. I wonder if I can get just a regular old fountain pen nib to work in this. It took a number 6 nib beautifully. So I went ahead and used Franklin Christoph SIG nib for a little bit. Okay, the next time I had a writing session, I went ahead and just got an old Bulow nib and put it in here, and actually it wrote great for a medium Bulow nib, and that's how I finished out doing all my ink swatching and sampling. So here, the blue is where I start, that little blue divider, and all the rest down here are ones that are not used yet, but I've got several hundred, 200 to 300 ink swatches that I've been using, every different color, all the blues, the reds, the oranges, the browns, the blacks, turquoise, greens, purples, and I went ahead and used my label maker to make little labels for those, and that's where it ends, and you start going to these little dividers and then the blanks. So why would I do it on this? Well, I know some of you are saying, well, you realize there's coloring out there, right? And I know a lot of people use coloring. I've got no problem with these. Actually, there's a very nice paper. Here's the issue when I started playing with these. It's got great paper. The problem I looked at it was, I don't write on paper like this on a daily basis. Yeah, I've got some Ayush paper that I write on to write letters. My pen pals know that. I use Rhodia dot pads and Rhodia quality paper, Clairefontaine, and a few others. Tomaway River, which, by the way, unpopular opinion, I don't like Tomaway River's paper so much. But anyway, decent quality. I'm not going to knock this product whatsoever. It just didn't seem practical to me when I looked at the idea of, all right, I got a couple of these, but I don't write on paper like that. So I wanted to see it a little more true to reality. I write an awful lot on regular notepads. This desk where I sit is my office for work. I've been sitting at this office for 20 years, right here in this room. That's how I make my living. So rather than have like the 100-pound bonded paper, the 160 GSM paper, I just said, I use notepads. I'm talking legal pads. I'm talking little scratch pads, and I write an awful lot on copy paper, photocopies, and I was doing my checkbook just earlier today because I got paid today. So I was doing my bills, and I wasn't using this my pen of the day yesterday, and I decided to make it my pen of the day today as well. I'm not using that on that nice 100-pound 160 GSM paper. So I went ahead and started to use my Rolodex. I figured I might as well use it for something, and this seemed a little more practical to me. So I sat over a period of time, and every time I've got a new ink that's come in, I went ahead and swatched it up. A buddy of mine brought over some inks for me to sample that he had. Hey, do you mind if I swatch them up? Get a little swatch on it. Got a little ink sample out of his bottles, kind of thing, and I had some of the samples I don't have anymore because I used them up and I rinsed because I used up pretty much all the ink in it. But I had some that were like way down to the bottom, at the very bottom, and I hadn't flushed them out or gotten rid of them. I had a box full of samples. So, even though I'm not going to use them, I figured, why don't I swatch them up? That way they'll be in my library, so I can always go through my library. And if I had a friend or my wife or my son says, hey, I want an ink, here, take my Rolodex file, look through all my inks, and you want blues? All right, let's start here. You want a red ink? Start here. These are all the ones that I've touched. I've physically played with myself. And you can look online too. There's some great resources online. My buddy who brought me some ink samples, I turned him on to like inkswatch.com, the Goulet website, Anderson Pen's website, and I picked up with a Black Friday sale, oh gee whiz, 55, 60 ink samples. I think Anderson Pens was running a sale. Had a lot of them for $1. I figured, I'm kind of in the mood. Why not? I don't really need more inks. Quite honestly, I'm running out of room up here for ink bottles. And I got some Star Wars figures up here that I'm kind of running out of room. That I need to take those down if I buy any more bottles of ink. But I'm not a big ink connoisseur. I find a few basic colors. The majority of my ink swatches are blues and blacks. And that because I use for business a lot, or I just found some go-to inks, and those are ones that are going to show up if I do it recorded again, because apparently the recording didn't either come out well or it got lost, where I did a recording with Larry a while back on my top 3 inks. So anyway, that's it. Couple of things. Shirts. Yesterday I was wearing one of Larry's shirts. If you want one of my shirts, fountainpenfanatic.com, and I can show you what the shirts look like. I don't make money off from those really, so feel free to pick one up, and if you just to promote the channel. I'll be honest with you, my motivation will come if I start getting more subscribers, and the more subscribers, the more time I'll spend doing videos. The more videos I do, then maybe I'll end up doing more videos for giveaways. I literally have some pens here in my desk that I've got I picked up expressly for giveaway. Some pens I was going to fix up to sell cheaply, exclusively to you, my viewers. I've got some, and that includes vintage, some vintage pens. But I want to do some giveaways. It's just a matter of finding the time and the motivation lately. I mean, that's just the bottom line, is that the time and the motivation. There's a lot of things that have been going on that have taken away from that, so hopefully we can keep it going. Let's see what else to tell you. Discount codes, I already told you about antiquedigger.com, 10% off all your purchases there. My friend Jim Hines still has a discount code up, 15% off your purchase at hinespens.com. Use discount code Troy there as well. That's about it, guys. I don't have a whole lot. Maybe we can do a Q&A video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. Some of the questions that I've gotten online from some of you viewers, I've attempted to answer those the best I could. And of course, we've always got people who are critics. Everybody's a critic. I've had plenty of that as well, which, by the way, doesn't lead to the motivation to continue to do the channel. But because I've gotten some really real winners that have come through, privately or even publicly. But that's about it, guys. I had some time, so I wanted to bang this out. Feel free to reach out to me. I enjoy hearing from you people, interacting with you. I enjoy the social media aspect of doing this channel. That's one thing I do enjoy. It's led me to be able to meet a lot of people in person, whether virtual or literally in person, which I've appreciated greatly. I've developed some friendships as a result. So, all right, that's it. FountainPenFanatic.com. That's me.